Ladies and gentlemen, earlier this year we had the SONA, the State of the Nation Address, which was followed by the SOPA, the State of the Province Address. And today we have the SOSA, the State of the Seminary Address. However, there will be no points of order, Honourable Principal. On a serious note, though, it's always a very special privilege for me to present the State of the Seminary Address at the annual graduation ceremony. As we consider how the Church globally is either succumbing to pressure from the world to weaken its stance on the biblical interpretation of its foundational principles, or simply withdrawing into its cocoon of head-in-the-sand mentality, it is becoming critically important for students of theology to take an uncompromising view on the truth of the Scriptures. The thin edge of a very sharp wedge has already penetrated many denominations, but diligent adherence to God's Word is a fail-safe firewall. You, the 262 students who are graduating today, of which of course only 95 are present because so many others live too far to be with us, have successfully completed a qualification from SATS and have therefore been exposed to and hopefully infused by our three foundational principles, namely Bible-based, Christ-centered, and Spirit-led. As such, you will be better equipped to deal with the world's incursions on your churches and on your ministries. Allow me now to outline a few of the exciting developments we've witnessed at SATS in the last 12 months. During 2014, we enrolled 703 new students. That's 10% up on the previous year. And already so far this year, a further 276. This means that we currently have more than 2,040 active students in over 70 countries. Our postgraduate school continues to expand, and although we've only been accredited for the PhD for 7.5 years, we already have over 100 candidates currently enrolled, with 33 having graduated, including 7 today. Of these, 4 are from African countries, Cameroon, Swaziland, Ethiopia, and Kenya, and 3 are from the USA, one of whom, Kelly Larson, has traveled all the way from California for the ceremony. The 10 master's graduates are from South Africa, the USA, Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, Rwanda, Kenya, and Madagascar. More and more seminaries in countries where the governments do not allow religious programs to be accredited are approaching us so that their students can earn accredited degrees. We have enrolled the first group of Russian-speaking leaders, church leaders in the former Soviet Union. We've signed an agreement with the German seminary with branches in 5 countries. We are currently in negotiations with a seminary in Brazil and a doctoral degree consortium in South America. In addition to those, we have already on the continent signed some new partnerships. Just this week, we concluded negotiations leading to a memorandum of understanding with a seminary in Lubumbashi in the DRC, which also has a branch in Zambia. We've also signed a letter of intent with the seminary in Rwanda and are assisting a new group in Kenya. We are currently in discussion with a denomination in the US, which has its seminary in California, and I'll be visiting that seminary in the next few weeks. We've signed an agreement with Vineyard Institute, which we believe will see a steady flow of students, especially from the US. All of this in addition to the strong partnerships which we had already forged in earlier years. Locally too, we've signed memoranda of understanding with a number of institutions, and we expect that these may increase now that the Department of Higher Education and Training has begun to crack down on what it calls bogus institutions. You may have seen from our newsletter in February that the department has published a list of such institutions which it has handed over to the police. I expect to see more and more of these exposed in the coming months, which could logically see a migration of their students to accredited institutions. Churches who were contemplating partnering with such institutions would now surely want instead to consider legal and accredited institutions. Wherever we travel in the world, one of the key issues is whether we are accredited. During the past year, we were required to go through our 6-yearly re-accreditation process with the Council on Higher Education. South African accreditation involves an extremely rigorous evaluation with the bar regularly being raised. We welcome this because internationally it is critical for us to be seen to have a very high standard. It is noteworthy that when SATS transcripts were submitted to the International Education Research Foundation and the American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, which are two of the most frequently used and highly recommended USA evaluators, both confirmed SATS degrees as being equivalent to regionally accredited degrees in the United States. We are also listed on the German government's website of institutions that it accepts. This should give you, as the graduating students, great confidence because it means that the qualification you've earned here carries international recognition. For more than 2 years, we've been conducting extensive research into how best to offer an online Doctor of Ministry degree. Several team members have worked inordinately hard to design what we believe will be an innovative, excitingly different program and which we hope will draw many students from around the world. This will culminate next week in the submission of an application for accreditation, which itself took nearly 200 hours to complete. The postgraduate team has also been redesigning the structured Master of Theology program, as well as some of the honors courses, while the whole BTH curriculum is being reviewed. A new format for the counseling courses has been introduced, and more electives are planned for this year and next. A new program called the Higher Certificate in Christian Leadership is also on our drawing board. Our pre-tertiary program, Crossroads, has seen significant growth in the last 12 months. So far this year, 650 students have enrolled in that program. One denomination which realized that it was not focusing on leadership equipping has enrolled 121 of its leaders around the country, and we hope that several of them, as is becoming the regular pattern for Crossroads students, will go on and enroll in our tertiary programs. An exciting development in the last 3 months has been the launch of the online version of Crossroads, which enables individuals to take the program wherever they are in the world. One of the first enrollees in that program came from India. Let me say something now about throughput rates. By that I mean whether a student enrolled for a course actually succeeds in passing. You may know that in the past some have accused distance education institutions, saying that their throughput rates were much lower than residential institutions, which in many cases, I have to say, was true. For example, of the number of students who enrolled at UNISA in 2005 for a 3-year degree, only 14% graduated. A few years ago, we began to implement measures to ensure that we would not suffer the same fate, and designed a system around the concept of taking the distance out of distance education. For example, at both the undergraduate and postgraduate levels, we deployed staff whose job description largely focuses on bringing the seminary closer to the students by keeping in touch with them on a regular and personal basis. We've also continued each year to invest more and more in technology, which enhances the distance education students' experience. The result is that our average current success rate across all programs is 58%, and this compares very favorably with public universities, residential. What is also pleasing is the increasing percentage of graduates who are enrolling for further programs. Currently, that figure has reached 48%. For us, this is a sign that our students are confident that the qualifications they've received from the South African Theological Seminary have met and hopefully surpassed their expectations. We trust that many of you graduates here today will also continue with further studies from SATS. Let me turn now to probably the most notable and exciting event of the last 12 months, the purchase of and move to our new campus. Those of you who were at the dedication service this morning would have seen firsthand what an incredible gift that new campus is from God. If you were unable to come, please feel free to pay us a visit. The gardens are magnificent and the building more than meets our needs. Our original plans to build a new building from scratch encountered a number of delays that were eventually thwarted, but what God provided instead was far better. He deserves all the praise. So you can see it's been a very busy year. I would like to commend particularly our amazing staff, over 140 full-time and part-time staff in 31 countries, who've worked incredibly hard to accomplish the things I've mentioned and far, far more. What will the remainder of 2015 hold? There are many new possibilities to explore, but the most important thing is that we are open to hearing God's voice and responding accordingly. It is very clear from the many opportunities that are coming our way that God has His hand on us, and we look forward to continue serving Him and playing our part in extending His kingdom. We feel privileged to be part of this great work, and we take very seriously the responsibility to train and equip our students. In an age where liberalism has made such inroads into theological training and the church as a whole, we will not compromise, and we urge you to take the same stance as you continue your ministry. It is our privilege to present each of you today with a copy of the A to Z of Theology, written by a group of our academic staff and edited by our guest speaker today, Dr. Bill Domaris. And I trust that this will assist you greatly in your ministry. Finally, as each of you receives your qualification today, the hearts of our staff, as well as your parents and your family members and your visitors, will swell with pride. We fully recognize that studying via distance education requires great discipline, and you have shown that. We also know that your family members had to endure with you, often foregoing important family time in order to see you realize the qualification to which God has called you. To those who are here to celebrate with you today, may we say thank you for seeing your spouses, your children, your parents through this great task. Our prayer is that these sacrifices may bear great fruit for the kingdom as you go and put into practice what you have learned here at SATS. I thank you.